Good evening, traders. This is Revan Wood with PureTake.com. Today's date is August 29th, 2011. There's a couple things that traders in the room have asked me to talk about in tonight's video. Okay, the first thing is money management. Okay, let's go over money management real quick. Very simple mathematical calculation, yet it is one of the hardest things to do when learning how to trade. Okay, a very simple equation is to use money management accordingly. A trader doesn't want to risk more than 2% of its capital in any one trade. So for example, if you have $10,000 and you are willing to risk 2% per trade, you can risk $200. Okay, very simple. This is where it gets complex or a little bit uncomfortable for some of the newer traders. How many contracts do I trade is the question that they ask. Well, the answer is if you have a 2-point stop in the S&P 500, you can trade 2 contracts. Okay? So that's in a very small nutshell how money management works. Okay? There's a lot more that goes to it. There's trade management, there's adding, there's targets, but that's just for a very simple money management procedure. A trader usually risks 2% of its capital per trade. So if you have $10,000, you can risk $200. Okay, that's why I tell you to define your stop before you look for entry and how many contracts you can trade. Define risk first. Okay, second thing is tape reading. Just real quick, because it's not really the scope of tonight's video. Tape reading. When you're watching the tape, what I want you to do is I want you to separate and filter your tape with trades of 50 or more contracts and 50 or less in another window. The reason I have you do that is the small 1s, 2s, 3s, and 5s are usually the late longs, the late shorts. So what you do is when you see those flushing at areas that you've been watching, okay, your points of interest, you want to make sure that you're following the large blocks. Okay, for example, if we are coming into new highs at 1209 in the S&P, which is just a random number, and all you see is ones, 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 threes, fives, sevens, sixes, fives, four, 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 four. Okay, they're taking it at the offer, which means that they're trading it on the offer. Green, it will be green on the tape. Okay, but what you see is blocks of 50 or more being traded at the bid. Watch for a little bit more selling to come in. Okay, just like when we come down to support and all you see is 1 1 1 1 1 1 5 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 1 1 1 1 1 on the red, meaning that they're taking it at the bid, but then all of a sudden you see a little bit of green tape come through with 50 contracts or more. Watch for some sort of reversal, start to lighten your position or get out. Okay, those are the 2 subtopics. They're very important, yet they're not the focus of tonight's video. Tonight's video I want to talk about tick patterns, and I have lots of examples, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to explain this. But this will blow you away, and it will help you immensely. Okay, the first trade we're going to look at is you could have taken on the ES or the NQ, which happened at 2:34 New York time. Okay, which would have been 1:34 Chicago. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to 2:34 on the ticks. Let's go to the ticks and see how they're reacting. Okay, so let's talk about today. 60 was up, 15 was up, we were trending higher, we were above the daily pivot. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way. So what we were looking for was pullbacks. Okay, so right here, low tick bracket fade, we went long on the NQ. Now I don't have the NQ chart set up because this is just something I threw in right before I started the video. 256, 512 pullback long. Okay, which worked very well. Okay, and it was actually a W on the NQ. It was actually a W on the NQ. Okay, so now the way that I chose that is it's not really a tick pattern, except for it creates the tick pattern setup on the next bar. Okay, we entered right around here, got our targets as it moves up. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the definition of a tick pattern, which the clearest example I can give you is right here. Classic tick pattern with the trend. Okay, this is Friday at the close. On the close, we were moving into new higher highs, and the market had pulled back to zero tick. Okay, so now how did I find this trade? Everybody asks me, well, how'd you come up with this trade? From being stopped out 100 times, shorting the bottom of that bar right there. When in fact, ladies and gentlemen, trading with the trend, it is actually a buy signal, as you see on the next bar. Okay, price moves up. You can go ahead and relate your 3-minute chart with your 3-minute tick chart to find out what I'm talking about. Okay, now another thing I want to show you is the reversal tick patterns that form. Okay, here's a reversal tick pattern. You're with the trend, it's coming down to low ticks. Okay, that's supposed to be negative 600, not negative 622. Okay, and then we get the reversal. Okay, so that works very well with the trend there. Was there one back here? Okay, here's another one. Here was another reversal. Okay, you buy at the close of this 3-minute bar. Okay, remember you're trading with the trend, low parts of the tick bracket looking to trap the shorts. The question you have to ask yourself is, who is trapped? Okay, where can we trap the wrong way traders? We asked ourselves that all day today. Okay, let's go back to today. There's some examples from Friday. Now let me show you some examples of today. Okay, the first trade that I want to talk about is at 2:56 p.m. Okay, 2:56, 512 pullback long here. Okay, so let me zoom this out and let's go back to our 512. And here's the setup. Here's the entire setup. Okay, we're on low tick readings. Okay, so we're fading the low end of the bracket. Okay, also what we have is our our stochastic hook lining up, okay, with our 512 pullback. Okay, now, so we nailed that trade at 2:56 p.m. The next trade sets up where we have a W with the trend. Now, this one is kind of cool because here's how we trade this one. The first thing is we fire long at 12:05.25. Let me zoom out. Let me pull up the ticks. Then we go in, let our ticks take over. Our ticks take control. Okay. Okay, so here's the tick pattern. This is actually the buy signal where you see this right here, completing our W. Now, on this trade, we got to add a point lower. How did we know it was okay to add 1 point lower? We faded the zero tick line. As you can see, it was very profitable with a stop of 1203. So we had a stop that was 2 1/4 point. Stop of 1203 we added at 1204.25. How did we know it was clear to add? 60 was up, 15 was up, we're above the daily pivot, advanced declines are moving higher. Okay, and zero tick. Okay, now you're probably thinking, well, how this looks like one of your other little tick patterns. Well, yeah, but when it goes down to zero, that's the buy signal. Okay, we're with the trend. Okay, so now let's look at the next thing that happens. At 3, okay, we get a breakout. Okay, let's go to the daily chart. What does that look like to you guys? Is there a big W? Okay, let me show you what I mean by W. Okay, remain in drawing mode. Okay, and we're going to go trend line. Watch this. It's very quick. Okay, does that look like a W? Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so now drawing horizontal line, boom. Okay, 1 tick above that high. Now, as we're progressing through the afternoon, we notice that the NQ pops through the high. The ES has not popped through the previous high, which was 1206.75. Take drawing modes off. Okay, and we notice that 1206.75 is the W high. We take 1207 intraday Intraday, we take 1207 long. Let's look at the chart. Okay, and that happened at exactly 3:30 p.m., which is right here where my mouse is. Now, what happens? Well, we get a little bit of heat. We get a little bit of heat. Let's see where the first touch is. 1205, 1206. Over here is the first touch. Actually, we didn't get any heat. 1206.50, 1207. Okay, so now we get a little bit of heat down to. Okay, so now here's how this works. We see how price is working. We trade the 3-minute chart. We zoom into our 512s. Okay, now one thing I want to notice is the advanced declines gave us permission to go long with the bullish engulfing reversal pattern from the lower low. Okay, so at 3:30 we go long at 1207. Now, why did we go long at 1207? Remember, the daily chart says 1207 was the buy signal. Okay, so now what happens as we come back down through here? The really cool thing that works is we get a pullback. Okay, so now we're in the trade. We know that the breakout is 1207. Let's go to our ticks. Okay, we entered the trade at 3:30. Let's find our 3:30 bar. Okay, looks like a nice little buy signal to me. Okay, so we buy at 3:30. Okay, and now I'm reading tape and I see 1206. Excuse me, 1206.25. There's a nice little tape buy, so we get our first target at 1207. Now the second trade, 1205.50. The ad is this as follows. We have a tick pattern, reversal pattern forming against the trend right here. Right here. You're thinking, and I think Grumpy pointed out, short signal, tick pattern, bing, short signals happen against the trend. Guys, I added on this low tick at 0550. 0550 hits, bing, comes back up, 0625 target. Not to mention this is the largest trade of the day. I entered 1207 with 12 contracts. Entered 3 more at 0625, took them off at 07. Entered 3 more at 0550, got them off at 0625. As you can see, the rest is history. We know where the market is now. 0850 was the final target with an all-inclusive 18 contract trade for a nice gainer to end the day. Now, I hope this helps, because what you want to do is you want to make sure you're with the trend. 60's up, 15's up, we're above the daily pivot, we're trending higher. Okay, so keep that in mind. Remember, when the ticks are clustered above zero, you're looking for longs with the trend. Okay, let's see if I'm catching everything on my list here. Tick patterns, advanced declines, how to add, how to use the 512 hook. Okay, the last thing is with the 512 hook, guys, make sure that it's the first oversold reading or overbought reading when you're trading. Like, for example, right here. Make sure it's the first after it's been pegged above your 80 line, or make it sure it's the first if it's been pegged below your 20 line. Okay, remember, we trade the 3-minute chart, we enter and exit on the 512. Okay, so I hope that helps, guys. I hope that adds to your filter when you're trading. Remember, go trade with the trend. Don't worry so much about the counter trends. Pick your battles. Pay attention to your ticks and your advanced declines. They're the only thing that matters. They're the only thing that is the true output. Price is the true output of the ticks and the advanced declines. Thanks, guys. See you in the room.